This is Providence Television International, the game changer.
Welcome to the program Issues in the News on Providence Television International. I am Ugbebo Ikekwa. As usual, we have an analyst in the studio, Dr. Emmanuel Igariba. You're welcome.
Yes, that's right. I mean, we've had this program for a long time. I think there's a lacuna, really. There's been a lacuna in between, but I'm happy that we are back with it because there are many issues going on in the country at the moment. But I think we'll be right to pick just three today.
Yes, exactly.
So you go ahead.
And we'll be starting in the Niger Delta part of the country. It has become a recurrent issue, the issue of environmental degradation. Will be just some weeks ago there was this intense clamor by the federal government to resume oil exploration in Ogoni land. What's your take on this?
Well, my take is simple. I mean, the Ogoni people have been in pains over time. You remember that a lot of money has been voted for the cleanup of Ogoni land, but today there's not been any serious positive response from government. It started right from the time of Obasanjo, I think. Was trying to do some work, some serious work. But today, and I'm sure that people are surprised that there are plans now to go ahead with more serious work again in Ogoni land. I mean, in terms of exploration and all of that. And I think that there have been some outcry. There's been some serious outcry from Ogoni people. And don't forget that this is what the late Saro-Wiwa was talking about during the Abacha era. It was talking about the need for reparation. I mean, this is the place that produces the bulk of oil in this country. But you have a lot of spillage going on in that area. And he was quite vehement in his reaction and all of that. And he was taken out by Abacha, because he cried out to the international community that, yes, Ogoni land, they don't have schools, they don't have health facilities, they don't have social amenities and all of that. And yet, the federal government, as at that time, was busy doing all kinds of exploration. Now, look at this. That's a typical oil spill, for instance. And when you have an oil spill like this, the aquatic life is gone. Because, you see, when you have oil spill, it kills aquatic life. In fact, almost irretrievably, because oil is there, it doesn't sink.
Yes.
It's just there on top of the water. So the fishermen are banished almost completely. Even their farmlands are gone. But look at the damage, almost irreversible. Thank God that I did a lot of studies on environmental work. In fact, very many years ago in my LLB program, my project work was on the environmental law and its impact on the ecosystem. So I guess I'm at home with all of this. So, but we must recognize the fact that let the cleanup be done first before exploration work starts again.
All right, it brings me to this point. There are no environmental laws in this country.
There are environmental laws. There used to be what you call FEPA, Federal Environmental Protection Agency. I don't know if it's still in existence, but look at it now. There are laws against environmental abuses. Laws against effluents being poured into water bodies. A lot of corporate bodies, foreign corporate bodies are very guilty of this. There are laws against bush burning, illegal felling of trees. There are laws against, all sorts of things, really. I mean, you are just talking of just one aspect. Even gas flaring, there are laws against gas flaring. There are many parts of Delta State you go today, there is 24-hour light. They don't have this balance between the daytime and nighttime. Yeah, they don't. Just flaring gas, and these things can lead to glaucoma, for instance. But there are laws. For instance, there are laws stipulating the fact that you must pay compensation. Okay. But the people who do this thing, they prefer to pay little amount of money and they continue with gas flaring, all right? Which is an absurdity, come to think of it. Now the people are at the receiving end, all right? If you go to some parts of Niger Delta, for instance, they can't farm. because oil has spilled over their farmlands. And what you get from there, I mean, for instance, cassava, very small species, all right, they don't grow to maturity. And even fish, aquatic life, not just fish, aquatic life generally is destroyed because there's something about water which you must recognize. As effluents are poured into water bodies, look at that young lady, for instance. Is trying to separate water from the oil stuff. Now, but as I was saying, when water goes around like that, when these effluents go along the waterways, they destroy aquatic life, and the damage is irreversible because, I mean, these effluents are in a state of flux. They move from one place to the other along the waterways. And as they are going, they destroy aquatic life almost irreversibly. So that's the danger in it. But the sum total of it is, environment can go on without man, but man cannot go on without the environment. So we must protect the environment. It's a pity that this is a short time that we're going to have to discuss this on this program. But if we had a longer time, I'll probably discuss all the indices, all the rough edges and things like that. But let it be known that there are so many abuses against the forest resources, mineral resources, against the oceans and all the other water bodies. Serious abuses. And government must do something. I mean, look at the issue of floods. I'm sure we'll come to that. Floods are destroying our environment because we cannot channel water through their natural waterways. For instance, they must find a way, these floods must find their natural ways. Okay? So, but in terms of destruction of the environment, government must do something seriously about it. I mean, if FEPA, for instance, is gone into oblivion, it must be revived. And I will tell you this. In African countries, when people are going for elective offices, they talk about roads, infrastructure, water, and all sort of things. Out there in the Western world, they don't talk about all these things anymore. And you don't go on the podium to tell the people you want to give them water. The people themselves will ask, what are you going to do about climate change? For instance, we don't talk about that because it doesn't mean anything to us, but it means a lot because man cannot survive without the environment.
All right, it brings me to one final question on this issue of resumption of oil exploration. The role of the media as regards this whole environmental degradation thing. Do you think they are doing enough?
Well, you might say they are not doing enough, and you'll be right. But the media has been doing something, trumpeting issues, just like we are doing now, for instance, drawing government's attention to the fact that you cannot continue to do exploration when the people are in penury, okay, when there's misery all over the place. They need to benefit from what God has planted in their homeland. That is the issue. You cannot continue to have exploration when the people don't have water, when they don't have schools, then they don't have health facilities. They are being exploited unnecessarily. And I think that government must put a stop to this. And I believe that Ministry of Environment, incidentally, virtually all the states, they have Ministry of Environment. What are they doing, for instance, in collaboration with the federal authorities? There must be collaborative efforts to make sure that what is being taken out from the ground, the gains from what is being taken out, are plowed back for the betterment of the society.
All right. This takes us to our next point of discourse. It's like there is a day that passes by now in Nigeria where you do not hear that one region has been flooded. And then under matters arising, the question comes up, what is the federal government doing as regards this trend?
Not just the federal government. I mean, we are living in an entity called Nigeria. The federal government on the one hand, there are state governments, okay? And again, I must talk about collaboration between the state governments and the federal government. Floods are what you call a natural disaster, all right? But they can be controlled. Because, look at this, for instance, a very sordid picture. People losing their properties, people can't access their homes and all of that. Whereas, this water body that you are seeing has a natural channel, but it's just that the natural channel is blocked. That's why water must find its way into houses. Something happened in Ikorodu the other day, happening a couple of days ago. I mean, it was really total misery. People were just shouting and crying. Water went into their homesteads, and there was nowhere to run to. But look at cars now being submerged. Unfortunately, and I think this is This is quite strange. Even in arid areas. And you talk about climate change now, by the way. Things that used to happen before are happening on a larger scale.
Exactly.
This time around. Arid areas in the north, they're experiencing floods, which is not usual. You can understand the coastal areas, right? But my prayer, and I think this is very fervent prayer, Lagos, for instance, is a flat land. I mean, it's not hilly, and I think in some areas even below sea level. But my prayer is that the Atlantic Ocean should not spill over. If it does, then we are in for trouble. Real serious trouble, particularly in places like Victoria Island and Lekki, for example. People are not thinking of it at the moment. Even government is not thinking of it. But at the end of the day, should it happen, who do we blame? Yes, because we must develop the mechanism to open up our channels. And luckily, Lagos is on water. For example, you have lagoons all over the place. All right, Lagos. Most of Lagos is an island. Lagos Island, they say. And what is an island? A piece of land surrounded by water.
By water, yes.
Okay, so Lagos is also surrounded by water. So when there is an insurgence of water into many areas, you can be sure that we'll have very serious problems on our hands. But we don't pray for that. But these things can be avoided.
Okay.
At the moment, rains are falling in torrents. Even in Benin, yesterday, Saturday, it was raining cats and dogs, they say. I won't be surprised if some houses and homesteads have been abandoned completely because of this. But the Ministry of the Environment can do something, either in the state or at the federal level. Enlightenment program to tell people that they shouldn't block their drains. It's very simple. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, government must also do its work. There are drains that have been blocked for ages. They need to empty them up. Useluna, for instance, is back. A few years ago, we didn't have anything like, I don't know what they call it now, very close to Tomline. Yes, we did. That problem was gone and gone for good. All right? But it's back. Yes. That means the drains have been blocked, and we need to open up the drains, okay? And channel them properly to, there are receptacles. For instance, you have the Ipoba River, down on Okoro where you have the dam. You can channel these floods to that area. Because if you don't, they have the propensity to open up and they enter people's homes and houses.
Well, most of the time, we've always heard state governments and the federal government always, when it comes to precautionary measures, they tell residents to move to high lands. How feasible do you think this is?
You can only talk about uplands in places like Ilushi. I keep using Ilushi as an example. Ilushi is a lowland, but it has some upland that's situated, so people can move. But it depends on how effective campaigns can be. Enlightenment campaigns. Long before the rainy season, you allow them to move because the rains must come anyway, and sometimes they come in torrents. That is one part of it. The other part is government. I keep saying this, government must do its work. Okay? The Ministry of Environment must do its work. It must protect the environment against certain onslaughts like flood. These are natural disasters. If we were somewhere in the Southeast Asia, we won't be talking about this, because places like Malaysia and the rest, they experience these floods on a yearly basis. Even in India, from monsoon rains, for example. How would we cope? We are just lucky in this part that these monsoon rains are not too heavy in this part of the world. India, for instance, looks up to it every year, and they make sure that they have mechanisms in place to be able to checkmate some of these things. I mentioned Malaysia, even Singapore, okay, and Brazil, for instance. These are areas that are prone to ocean erosions, okay. But governments in those areas, they have a way of checkmating some of these things, so they don't establish too many disasters. If we were in Southeast Asia, for instance, I wonder what would have been the fate of this country. Wow. But however, this is a clarion call on our part, from us to government, that something must be done, and very quickly, because the rains will still come, whether you like it or not. In fact, it's been predicted that the rains will come heavily, in this August, down through to September. Climate change, yes, We used to have something they call August break. I'm not too sure now if we have anything like August break. If we have maybe a couple of days. In those days, it used to be about 2 weeks. We'll have a dry spell. But right now, things are changing, and changing very fast. Okay.
Well, down to Edo State, so many residents in Edo State were quite happy last week, especially the commercial drivers and what some individuals would term the traders, traders, based on the ban on illegal revenue collection. So many people have had quite some very sad stories to tell as regards revenue, the experiences with revenue collectors. Do you see this as a welcome development?
It is. I mean, even the opposition, for the first time, I guess they are hailing the governor for having taken up this responsibility of stopping the illegal collectors of revenue. I think I buy into it. I buy into it because, I mean, they were like untouchable before now. And I think that Governor Paulo is getting his verve back, as the chief executive, not minding whether these people are members of his own party or not. I mean, that shouldn't really count, come to think of it. It's not a vendetta, just as they would say in the case of Obaseki, because these people were, well, rightly or wrongly, they belonged to the other party or the position at the time, and Obaseki was applauded at the end of it all because he put these people in check. I'm not sure of the position of Ring Road now, but maybe we'll take our cameras out in next week to check what is happening there. In Obaseki's time, Ring Road was free. Yes. But if you look at it now, there's so much congestion, right, that people just come in, even parking on the roadside. And that's a field day for revenue collectors, illegal revenue collectors. And I wonder what the whole apparatus of government was doing to checkmate these people. Look at that.
Yeah, you can see that.
Yes, endangering the lives of the passengers.
Exactly.
Because the driver could just have some misstep. I will go the other direction. I mean, look at it. It is very vivid. And it happens, I think, on a daily basis.
Yes, it does.
Right. So, but yes, I must applaud the governor for taking the right step in the right direction, not minding whose ox is God, because these people, I know, they belong to the same party with him. But that shouldn't be the case because the lives of the people are more important than party affiliation and stuff like that. So, but I believe that it must also have the cooperation of many stakeholders, people, well-meaning people who love the state. They must support him in this endeavor. And I think that explains why drivers, particularly this bus driver, they are very reckless. You know why? They want to do what they call balancing. They want to balance the owner's quote and unquote. So they drive recklessly. The reason being that these illegal collectors, they collect all kinds of revenues from them. All kinds. You will pay at Ikpobauka, you will pay at New Benin, you will pay all over the place. So at the end, what do they take home? Exactly. So in the process, they drive recklessly to be able to meet up their daily earnings.
And you can see them in their numbers.
Yes.
Yes, in their numbers. And so there's this competition. There's this gross competition that they really need to pick the passengers and all that. And then at the end of the day, they touts. Imagine, I've always asked this question. What do these revenue collectors actually use these monies for?
Well, private use, private pockets. The money goes into private pockets. And I think the reason why the governor has taken this decision is to say it loud and clear that government needs more money from these people rather than go to individual pockets. But my imagination is that there will be people on board now who will be able to do the bidding of the governor and the government, because at the end of the day, let it not be a red herring, for instance. And I believe that the governor's word must be his bond. You cannot just say something and turn your eyes to another direction while these people go the way they go. But yes, that's true. We need to have sanity on our roads. I mean, there's so much madness on our roads, particularly as it concerns this vehicular situation. We need to put them in check. And not just that, we need to tell them that, look, it is not right to drive recklessly. Because, look at, you take a little survey. Most of these buses that you are seeing, their rear lights are gone. 95% of them don't have rear lights because of reckless driving. They will just stop suddenly and people run into them, okay? Some of them don't have doors that can close.
Yes.
Yes, they don't. You have to maneuver. The conductor or whoever has to maneuver and lock up this thing. The smaller ones, I hope you could get the picture. The smaller buses now, they cram people. Look, that's an example.
Yeah.
That's the black one there. That's an example. They just cram people. Something that was made for about 6 people or 5, they cramp almost 10 people into it. A small vehicle like this. And so when anything happens, we have disasters on our hands. You know, and coupled with that, the drivers must be enlightened to the point where they go out of the way of addiction. Totally out of the way of addiction. Most of them smoke anything they lay their hands on. They smoke, they do all sorts of things, and they let you know that without those substances they cannot drive. You know, and the motor parks must be put under surveillance. No sale of alcoholic products in those places. The drivers, the conductors, and even the illegal collectors of revenue, they are all on the same plank when it comes to the consumption of all the substances. So there must be a wedge between them, all right? So let them look for other things to do. I want to applaud Governor Okpebholo in this particular decision, and I hope that he stays with it, because it's one thing to take a decision, another thing to go into a relapse. Okay, I hope he doesn't, and I hope that at the end of the day, the generality of the citizenry will be the better for it.
All right, and just before we go, because this is about all we can take on issues in the news from Providence Television International today, a parting shot from the CEO.
This concerns us really, and some good news. We've talked about this before, but yes, let it be known to our viewers at home and abroad that your favorite station, Providence Television International, will be 1 year old on the 28th of August. We're preparing for that. So if you have congratulatory messages to send to us, please do, just a token fee, and we'll be very pleased with what you are doing. We have been commended on a large scale. We've been applauded by our viewers at home and abroad. That gives me tremendous satisfaction that within just a year of our stewardship, we've gone round on our way to the top. And when we get to the top, we'll stay there.
We remain the game changer. On this note, I want to say thank you so much for watching. To tell your friends about Providence Television International.